Welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner, Classic Class Non-Classics. This is episode number 2958 and Doubleshot number 2958, Doubleshot 2852. We'll finish up kind of in a way one book and one volume of a series with this particular review. First of which we are discussing The Flash, Volume 2, Issues 238 to 247. First, we start with a six-part endless Fear and Loathing. Now, Mark Waid is not the writer of these issues. Oh no, it's basically a brand new writer by the name of Tom Peyer. He is your new writer. We have Freddie E. Williams II, who is going to be making Carolina next year. Ready to see him again. First of which, we have a six-part called Fast Money. Mostly put is focused on the West family, where a lot of really weird things happen in these issues, like there's an earthquake happening in Central City, like basically these quakes. At one point, you have Iris being aged up thanks to her powers, where she's much older. Where at one point, Linda basically went, "I just gave birth to you," like not that long. Like it had not really been that long. They've been aging really quickly thanks to their metabolism. And then at one point, Iris dies, but then she comes back. And of course, the story involves Gorilla Grodd and a brand new villain known as the Skin, I think his name is. Weird villain, but a very interesting six-parter. And then pretty much moving on to... Now, it starts with 230, like I mentioned, it ends with 243. Now, 244, and by the way, at one point in the storyline, we have people acting a little bit out of character with these issues, like having Jay Garrick at one point trying to murder the Wallace's kids. You're like, what? Why the heck would Jay Garrick do that for? Then emotional stuff, but don't worry, he gets fixed, don't worry about that. 244 has Alan Barnett basically take over writing duties for this issue, where I think it's mostly put just as a standalone issue that focuses on Iris and... Come on, seriously.
Welcome to another...
Sorry about that. This has decided to basically not cooperate with me. Okay. Oh, it's a four-part, yes. It takes a bunch of bug stuff anyways. It's a bit of a nature... It's a very interesting four-parter that sadly put me in the final four issues of this run. Sadly. But, gotta love this stuff. Nothing here is bad. No. This stuff is not Mark Waid. It's not Jeff Johns. It's basically Alan Barnett in these last four issues. But... overall, great 10 issues, basically, for this run. Final thoughts on The Flash, Volume 2. Reading this book, now, I had technically, but prior to coming back to this book, to do the way I'm doing here, these reviews, I had luckily enough reviewed a lot of this volume already. I do mean a lot of it. If you're curious, prior to this already doing these quick reviews for this one, where I kind of suspect this would quickly, because I had technically already covered the first 18 issues already, thanks to the thanks to Velocity Savage, which like the first 18 issues. And I did the one review, and I just like 1930. I just stopped there for a while. Excuse me, and I also had reviewed already, I think it was like issues like 54, no, 53, to like 225. How did I cover all these things? How did I cover all these fantastic issues? Trade paperbacks. First, the 8 volumes of Flash Mark Waid. The one single trade done by Grant Morrison and Mark Millar. And the Jeff Johns trades, which those are about 6 volumes, I believe it was. Yeah, that's how I was able to cover a lot of this volume already. But there's no denying, this book is fantastic. I know my friend Tim, he loves this book. And weirdly enough, a lot of this book is like, I would say about look at the trade paperbacks released this book, I'd say a good about 65% of this volume is in trade. Yeah, actually, no, it's more like about 80% of this volume is in trade. If you're really curious, what is not in trade when it comes to this book? I haven't seen omnibuses related to this run, per se. Well, it comes to Jeff Johnson, but basically not Jeff Johnson or Mark Millar. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Alright, so basically, like, a lot of the stuff collected on trade that's not collected in trade of this book is the William S. Lowe stuff, which I think is some of his early stuff is in trade, because I think that his first 3 issues are collected in trade, because I believe Mike Barron only did the first, 15 issues, and they took over issue 16 and left with issue 52. Now, the first 2 issues are collected in Velocity Savage trade, but from 1952, there is no trade payback for these issues. You're like, really? There's none? Yeah, there's none. 0. And guess what also not in trade? The 10 issues I just covered. Here, yeah, these issues I just covered right now, there is no trade payback for them at all. You're like, really? There isn't? Yeah, there isn't. Look it up. There's no trade payback for these issues at all. No omnibuses, no hardcovers, nothing. Nothing bad about these issues per se. Now, those of you curious, why did I format basically the way I did? After I reviewed 230, why did I take a break briefly to work on Flash Fastman Live? Well, there's a reason for that. That was because after issue 230, the book went hiatus for about over a year, and it was briefly replaced by the Flash Fastman Live book, so I decided to cover that too, as sort of a why not. Even though, yes, it's a Bart Allen Flash book, but it wasn't a terrible title. It's just that when I read, the reason why I got canceled was 13 issues. Now, from what I read, it was not a limited series. No, it was an ongoing series, and that is in trade. But then, of course, now here's the also forgot to mention here that 226, 230, those none of the shadow issues not in trade paperback. Basically, from issue 53 up into 225, that's all in trade paperback. No issues skipped. Surprisingly, they did not skip the issues that Mark Waid didn't work on when they did that last trade, because some issues he actually skipped. Of course, he covered with Brian Augustine, which, note that Mark Waid had a fantastic run in this book. And my friend Tiffany, he loves this run. Now, I personally... Now, those that might be curious, am I planning on reviewing the Impulse book? Yes, I'm going to review that as stuff related to Teen Titans. But in the case of Flash as a whole, the only thing technically... Now, what happens... Before I talk about what I'm going to do next with Flash, what happened after this book at bookend 247? Well, believe it or not, Final Crisis happened not long after this one, I could tell. Then Barry Allen came back, had a miniseries tied into Blackest Night, and then Flash Rebirth happened, and then you had the 12-issue Jeff Johns book, and then you had the New 52 relaunch that was first done by Francis Manapul, who did the first 29 issues, which, yes, there is an omnibus for that one, and series A paperbacks. Then it was the Ron Venditti run, which is a very weird run per se, especially since a lot of this book was done by Brett Booth. And after that, you had the very super popular Joshua Williamson run. This one was fantastic. No, Joshua Williamson was excellent in the book. You had him, you had the villain writer who did the Dark Alchemy story, then you had the awesomeness that was the Jeremy Adams run, which a lot of people questioned why DC took him off the book, given the fact the book was doing really well. I'm not sure what was doing the sales, but it was very popular. People love the Jeremy Adams stuff. Well, probably because basically they featured Wally West in the book instead of Barry Allen. But there's no denying that Williamson had a really damn good run on Flash. And then you have the current book done by Simon Spurrier, which I didn't mind having the book restarted after issue 100. That was fine. At least that's a good number to restart at. At least it's not after like 5 issues, or 8, or 35, or here's a weird one, 42. Yes, Marvel did that several times because there was a joke for a while. Marvel was afraid of the number 50. That was a joke for several years. And now we have books ending issue 50, not 42, but issue 50. But in the case of what happened next with Flash, well, Flash Volume 1 is next. And as for when I finish reviewing Flash Volume 1, I don't know exactly what DC book I'm doing next. I mostly put, I think I remember correctly, I think when I finished Aquaman, I think it was, that was replaced by this book. As it was replacing Flash, I don't know. I have no idea. Alright, so, moving on to a completely different book. Another book that's purely awesome. Written by the awesome Jeff Johns. Just me to know this book. Who did come back this book recently. Stop it. Thank you. Yes, we are talking about JSA. I really wish I stopped doing that. Come on. Alright. JSA Black Vengeance was collect issue 68 to 75 of the series. 68 to 72 is a, believe it or not, a 5-parter, which involves where the older JSA disappearing. So, we see Stargirl going home, having a good time with her mother, her sister, and her stepfather, Pat, aka Stripe or Stripesy. And then, of course, we have these guys from the future murder them all, including a frickin' baby. Yes. Now, what's going on here? Why did the JSA disappear? Why, it's thanks to old JSA villain Pat Duggan. Yeah, that is seriously the guy's name. He has never changed his name at all. Given this guy was introduced in the 40s and is still a recurring villain for the Flash for decades. And I'll get to a fun fact about this story when I first talk about it. So, Stargirl is picked up by of all people, Time Master Rip Hunter. Not Booster Gold, Rip Hunter. So it's basically including all the younger members, including like Power Girl. I'm trying to think who else was it they included in this book. It was Power Girl, Jarkham Thunder, Atom Smasher was brought in from Karak, which is basically Black Adam's country. And this comes like not long after that he had basically helped Black Adam overthrow the country. Mr. Terrific, Michael Holt is here. Sand is here as well. And basically they're going back in time. Now this is set, they go back in time to just after the JSA basically were forced to disband in 1951 due to red hysteria. Now, what exactly happened? This has been retold a few times over the years, where the JSA were accused of being associated with communism for reasons unexplained here. So, the House Un-American Activity, those of you curious, MacArthur, the guy who basically spearheaded all this, yeah, he's not in the story. They had some other people basically. It's a similar committee basically they had based on the real life people, which of course, according to mass hysteria in the 50s, from what I've read, the story goes is that they found this couple who were Soviet spies, and McCarthy was paranoid that there was red spies across the country. He had this list, and everybody investigated. Turned out to be like Reds anyways. Communism anyways, though. If you saw this the way things and say, oh boy, he'd basically go frickin' nuts. Good thing he's long since passed away. So, they request members of the JSA to remove their mask. The way Jeff Johns wrote it is like, screw you, bye-bye. Despite the fact that in the other tellings of the story, it's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Senator, we cannot do it, so we hereby disband. And then they all just quietly disband. And then they just disappear, thanks to not being saved by the JSA. So, then we have some really weird stuff happening here. Where Stargirl goes to recruit Ted Knight Starman, who's being kept in a mental asylum on pills for some reason. Terry Salone, Michael Holt, follows Terry Salone, who's carrying around a woman who claims to be his niece, and the mother is named Veronica, and it's suspected, they call her... Now, this is kind of interesting, that the rumor has this might be a relative of the modern-day ruler who debuted in JSA Secret Orders number 2. Secret Files number 2. And Michael Sloan Michael follows him, but he tries to enter a train, but he's told, so he has a ticket, he can't enter this carriage. He's like, you have a ticket, but you can't read. Why? Because the sign is set for whites only. So he has to go in the back of the train. Yes, because Jeff Johns decided to include segregation. Probably by far one of the most embarrassing things happened in this country. Yeah, it happened. Yes. But some idiots want to remove all racism history. You can't do that. You can't erase history. It's complete bullcrap. Some people want to do this. So, and then this is kind of interesting. So he follows Terry Salone, where he's being confronted by the Ku Klux Klan. You're like, what the heck is going on here? So Michael Holt, without his powers, proceeds to beat the living crap out of the Ku Klux Klan. The same group of people who are known for lynching black people. And by the way, these guys were never, a lot of them were never arrested for this at all. Never. Like, there was a story some were in Mississippi, but a lot of them were never arrested for their nonsense. I remember reading a story once where FDR basically was basically his wife begged him to go off the KKK. He just didn't for some reason. He thought, the way it was written, it's like his wife was just badgering him over something he may seem was nonsense. But it's something that FDR never really addressed it. So, he is saved. And then we have a really cool scene where we have Jarek and Thunder, who can't call his name up for some reason. They didn't really explain what the heck is going on with this. So, then he meets up with Johnny Thunder. Which he basically is always like, oh, you want to hear a superhero? He's like, I've never told it before, which is awesome. Stargirl's thing is interesting, where it's like, oh, I'm from the future, this ride based on your technology. And then it's taken by orderlies because Ted, I think he's hallucinating. Let me real. And then she's like taken away. It's like, take him, take night, have a night. And then her door opens, and then mysterious woman opens up. I'll talk about her, who she is in a minute, because you're like, what the heck? Adam Smasher, this is quite interesting with him. He meets up with his godfather, Al Pritt. Yes. And there's also, almost forgot to mention, Rex Tyler's son is involved in this story, but his role in the story is very minor at best. Like his whole thing is he reunites with his father in the story. So in the case of Al Pritt, when he finds Adam Smash, he gets the same powers he does. He's like, are you my son? He's like, no, but you're going to have one. And that one is Damage. Yep. A character got his own brief ongoing series in the 90s, which I'm going to talk about soon in the future. So, they confront Pat Deganon and form his own version of the Injustice Society, which is just pure awesome. And they have this massive brawl. And really, Pat Deganon wants to do the most dumbest thing possible. He wants to assassinate Harry S. Truman. Yes, seriously. By the way, this is during Harry S. Truman's, I believe was during his second term in office, I believe, when this book takes place, because I know he became president in 1945, and I believe he was elected to his, first only full term he actually had in 1940. So this is actually toward the tail end of his actual second term he had in office. So then JSA reunites and save him. Pat Dagon disappears. He does briefly appear once after this next story. But here's the weird thing. Pat Dagon is not seen again after this story until just 2 years ago. Yes, believe it or not, he disappears for almost 20 years. And those of you curious, what was the last Pat Dagon to appear? Did he appear in a book prior to this? I don't think he appeared at this time, not since the 70s. So a long time. And the following story arc is mostly put just to follow up from the Black Rain stuff, where basically it was a cross between Hawkman and JSA, where they fight Black Adam, and during the course of the story, sadly, Atom Smasher dies, and he's taken back. He also is voted back with the JSA. Oh, by the way, the girl who saved Stargirl, believe it or not, that was actually her sister who saved her, who was an adult woman from the future, which I thought that was cool. Yeah, that was really cool on their part doing that. Yeah. And of course, Alfred basically Atom Smasher dies, and that's the book. Yeah, these are the last issues to cover for this book because I recovered this stuff after this one. JSA, an excellent book. Like, if you're curious about the Just Side America, check out this book. It's amazing. All 75 issues, including its annual and trade. But not the entirety of the Steve Falls Orange books. Like some of this, and they kind of spread it over the course of books, but I love the series. And I thought I was my final thoughts the whole series because it's a fantastic series, but they brought it back recently, believe it or not. Yes, they gave it a volume 2. You're like, really? Yeah, really. They did. Mm-hmm. Come on, stop it, thank you. So, those of you curious, what's replacing this book? What is the plan to place this book? I was thinking basically Dr. Fate or but I decided Dr. Fate and the Spectre are going to replace Young All-Stars and Infinity Incorporated. That's what they're going to replace. What's replacing this one? I just finished JSA. Oh yeah. JSA Classified. That's what replacing with. That will not take very long to cover. No, it will not. So, but if you're curious, there is the original 11 trades of this damn thing. And then there is the JSA by Jeff Johns, which is about, I think it's 5 books, I think it is. And DC never finished doing this particular trade series, but there is an omnibus for this run, and it's in 2 volumes. All 87 issues, including all the extra stuff. Yeah, but great series overall. Okay, so that's that particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do another like button. Well, next up is basically going to be is my Return Legend. I've been delaying this for those of you curious. Why was the video yesterday? I ran out of time. That was some of the reason for it. But I'm hopefully get a chance to do more videos tonight. Okay, see you. Bye.